Today we got something really dope we're going to be working on. We're going to be doing the DBK Special Parts clear clutch cover on our brand new 2024 hypermotard 690 mono RVE. Hi, I'm Mike. Welcome to another motivation video, guys. The only place to shop for all of your RVE and Panigale V4S 2025 parts. Super excited to show you guys this one. Today we're going to be rocking some DBK special parts for our brand new 2024 hypermotard 690 mono RVE. The only place to shop for your supermoto love. Motivation. Might as well take a quick look at all these things that are in the box, guys. The retaining screw is sold separately. Make sure you get that. Take a look. Let's take a quick look to see what's in our packaging. There we go. Really great job by DBK. They've upgraded their packaging. Everything looks good. This is gonna be your clear clutch outer ring. And we have the replacement of the clutch casing in black by DBK, guys. Really, really dope. You have a variety of colorway that you can choose from. I personally went with the red retaining screw and all black everything else, since the bike's a little bit busy, but you do have an option to go whichever way you like. As usual, high-end quality stuff by DBK. So let's start with the easy stuff. We're gonna start at the bottom. I'm going in full clockwise. Make sure you're seated properly. These are not ridiculously tight. You could tell how soft these screws are. A little bit residue that's left on here. That's wild. This is what I mean about doing homework. That way you have exactly what you need, because sometimes these are a little bit finicky to get out. There we go. You have the right tool, just kind of sneak and save you time. Perfect. Before we go any further, all the screws have been broken loose. What we want to do at this point, I want to loosen the oil pressure pump. When I'm ready to pull this off, nothing is dangling. Make sure you're doing homework. Make sure you know what's going on before you start doing things. That way you're ready. So instead of taking the whole casing off and then having to deal with loosening these up, I'm gonna do that now. These are not ridiculously tight. It sets us up to do the job quickly and kind of not struggle a little bit later. Now we're gonna loosen the oil pressure pump as well. So later on, less work for us.
Here at Motivation, customer service is paramount. Our knowledgeable staff is available to help you navigate the sometimes confusing world of customizing your motorcycle. We've curated a selection of top brands, and we stand behind every product we sell. We got the parts you need. We stock a ton of parts and offer free shipping on orders over $149. And if you place your order by noon, we'll ship your in-stock items same day. Check out the website or contact us with any questions you have about your next order.
Make sure you're seated properly. These are not overtly tight, 10 Newton meters, so they're not really hard to take off, but it makes your life a lot easier. Make sure you get yourself replacement crusher washer. It says to reuse it, but for me, I'm using everything fresh. That way I'm ready to go. One thing I want to do is put microfiber cloth here. That way it doesn't scratch this. I'm not going to get rid of this. I'm going to keep it as a backup in case of anything. It is a supermoto, you know what that means. Let's start by pulling all of the screws out completely now. Stuck in there. These screws are definitely one-time usage. They're very, very soft. Keep an eye out. This one right here by the oil filler cap is longer. These are all provided to you by DBK, the replacements. Okay, by the way, I do have a good reason for doing this on the bike on the sides, not on the stand, because that way all the oil just sink to the opposite side of the bike. That way I don't have to worry about it. Now, if you were doing this project while doing an oil change, it'd be a different story. So I'm realizing one thing. I have to disconnect the RPM sensor reader from here. It's gonna be easier to do this on the replacement clutch cover than the other way. So what I ended up doing, I loosened the bolt down here, and there's one up here as well. So that way I have clear access, or at least I have a little bit of room to shimmy things down. Okay, that's good. So very important, as I mentioned, guys, do your research. Take your time, slow down as you're doing this. If you go at the very bottom of the RPM sensor, right? There's a little metal clip, which I took off. And also there's little arrows holding it. So I push the arrows out, and then now I'm free enough to pull that. And there we are, just like that. So this is what I just released, the RPM sensor. Disconnecting it from there. By loosening this little harness down here, it gives me flexibility to access the RPM sensor. Now I can pull this out. Oh, it snaps off. There you go. Sensor's off. And then now we're gonna undo. Perfect, okay. So take your time with these things so you don't damage anything. So we're just gonna get a little clamp to release this, and then it should be good. Don't try to release the RPM sensor from the top. Go from the bottom with the oil. There you go. Now they've been released. Now you have full access to removing the clutch casing without any intrusion. Here's a hot tip I wanted to share with you guys. Removing the clutch case was a little bit of a pain in the neck due to the fact that the liquid gasket from the factory really sealed this really tight. So what you want to do is get yourself a plastic razor blade, go around really removing the excess. Nothing metal, nothing that's gonna harm the actual magnesium casing. Get yourself a 4-pound dead blow hammer. Then you're gonna hammer all the way around, slowly, take your time, and then it's going to shift it and it's gonna give you access. Now we can pull this off safely without damaging anything. So just thought I'd share this hot tip with you when you're doing the installation. Let's wrap it up. You can see that it's breaking loose. There we go. Whew. Jeez. Finally got her out. Just gonna quickly undo these. They're not overtly tight. 10.5 Newton meters, I'd say. Now we torque it down to 10.5 Newton meters. What we're doing right now, we're taking some of the OEM parts that's required for you to transfer into the Dukabike case. I preemptively loosened some of these pieces up. They don't recommend you doing this to get a different washer, but for my own liking, I wanted everything to be perfect. So I got myself brand new washers. First one was starting. Just so you guys can see this. There you go. I'm gonna torque this down as well once I'm done. And now we're going to move the RPM sensor to the Dukabike one. Okay. Just a little bit of push from the inside. Nice. If you look inside here, there are 2 rubber gaskets that are inside. It looks like Dukabike included their own 2 in here, so you don't have to worry about it. Now we're just gonna push the RPM sensor down on this one as well. Very snug. It's nice in there. And then now we're gonna take that washer, we're gonna put that in there, and we're gonna torque all of these down before going back to the bike. There you go. Perfect. Nice. All right. I think there's one more component that we need to move from the inside, which is this little rubber here, but that's going to be towards the last of this. So the RPM sensor, we're going to torque that down. We're also going to torque down this piece right here, and then we'll move to the next thing. There we go. 10 Newton meters. Oh, perfect. All right, this one right here is gonna be torqued down to 15 Newton meters. This is something that was very challenging, removing the liquid gasket that was on the bike originally. And I figured I'd share this tip with you because both my wife and I and our good friend Jojo sat on it for a little bit. We look for ways it's not going to be abrasive, that's not going to cause any issues on the actual engine casing. So we're going to use nail polish remover. Actually, let's even try it with the cloth first. This is not abrasive and it's not going to hurt anything. It's definitely going to take a lot of effort, but it is coming off. Nice, coming out too. I'm just going to go through and try to get some of the smaller pieces that are still there. All done cleaning it up. Now I'm just going to remove any debris. I think I did a pretty decent job clearing it up nice and neat. But I'd say it looks pretty good from the way it was prior. Here's one of the hurdles you're going to encounter when you're doing this installation. There are dowel pins on the clutch cover side of the engine, also on the OEM clutch cover. There's a tool by ProMotion. It's about $100 for you to get, and it's going to allow you to remove those pins safely without causing any damage. And then reusing them again, when you install the new one, you're just going to simply tighten this down. Oh, came right out. Fairly straightforward. You're just going to loosen up the dowel pin tool remover, and then you're going to be able to pry out that dowel pin. Take a look. Still in great condition, and you can just reuse it back into the engine. We're going to put the dowel pin down here. That's the one we just extracted, just to kind of help line the casing that you're going to put on the new one. Just a heads up, there are 2 dowel pins on this engine case, so be aware. There we go. It's going to go right here. Perfect. Fits snug. There's one up there as well. Not every screw is going to be the very same size on this clear clutch cover. There's a variety of screws that you're going to need to place in certain areas. So make sure you check the manual and check to see where they all go. Okay. One final piece of this puzzle. If you look right here, this is the OEM O-ring on the OEM cover, the magnesium. Also, I want to make mention as well. You can see these sound dampening pieces on the inside of the casing. That way the bike runs a little bit quieter. This mod is also going to help the mono to sound a lot better. You're going to hear that engine. We're going to remove that O-ring and put it in the DBK special parts clear clutch before finalizing this. There you go. I'm just going to pry this out. Use something light. There you go, just like that. You're going to put it on the DBK special parts. This is where the oil pressure sensor goes, right on this little area right there, if you can see it. And on the inside, there's that O-ring. Make sure everything is clean here, and then we're gonna do the liquid gasket and then place this bad boy on. Everything is torqued down. This is gonna look incredible. It's gonna sound incredible as well because there are sound dampeners on the inside of the OEM casing. So few things are going to change as well outside of just the looks. Another step that I wanted to make mention, very important, before you do anything else, this is one thing that I'm a very big fan of, and I'm a huge advocate for doing stuff like this when you're doing a project. You want to do a dry fit test before doing all of the actual work and figuring out things are not fitting properly. So at least I have a general idea. There we go. This is our dry test to see how it's going to fit. Looks pretty good. God damn, boy, that looks good actually. That looks actually very good. Now we're gonna do our liquid gasket around the engine casing. What you wanna do is follow the same way you did with the dry fit. Line up the dowel pins and then press. Got the first. There we go. Perfect. Now we're gonna start dropping some of these screws in. Remember, Loctite the world, like my good buddy Nick would say. You don't have to do a lot. It doesn't specify for you to do a lot of Loctite, so you can just do very little. With a single cylinder bike that rattles a lot, you wanna make sure that you have like a smidge of Loctite here. We're gonna do the first long one. You don't have to tighten them a lot. There you go, 7's in. Small dab. These are only 5 Newton meters, so you're not going to tighten them crazy. We're gonna do the other number 7 screw, which is another long one. And everything that you see that I'm using, all the tools, the beta tools, can be purchased at MotovationUSA, of course, guys. Make sure to cover the oil filler cap before trying to put that screw in, because if it falls in, that's a bad day. There we go, nice. So now we got the long screws in, and then we have that one short screw in. Now that means all the rest is pretty much easy peasy. We're gonna start dabbing those up with a little bit of Loctite and dropping them in. By the way, some really cool thing that Ducati did that I appreciate here. The engine casing has been gnarled, so that way the bonding process happens nice and smooth and it stays between the casing. And those dowel pins are a big one for me. This was the first time I'm doing a project with dowel pins, so take your time in finding exactly which one has it. And this is why I enjoy doing these videos. They're gonna help you guys do these projects a lot faster than it took me. And you pretty much have a cheat code. Perfect. And then we have 2 more to go. Very important. Do not start the bike right away. I know you got a new clear clutch cover on your bike. You wanna let the liquid gasket cure for 24 hours before starting the bike. There we go. And then we have our last screw. There you go, perfect. Looking good, guys, looking good. All right, let's torque those down and then move to the next step. Super excited. I'll put that back in. Perfect. Now we're gonna torque these down 5 Newton meter. Let's get the first one here. Make sure everything is seated properly before starting to crank away. So everything looks great. I made sure every single bolt on here is the actual torque spec required by DBK. All right, and then we're gonna drop that gasket in and wrap it up. If you guys enjoy these kind of videos, you enjoy what I'm doing here at Motovation, always hit that thumbs up. One way you can support what we do, you can always shop with the link that are in the description. There we go, perfect. There we go. Gonna drop that first screw in. Hand screw. Hand tight, that's what I mean. All right, now to torque down the outer ring to 3.5 Newton meters. Star pattern, of course. Looking clean, man. Looks incredible. Highly recommend that you do this mod. This brings your hypermotard RVE to the next level for sure. I did get myself some new crush washers for the oil pressure pump, so we're gonna do that and then torque that down as well. Start running these wires back for the RPM sensor. And also, we're gonna replace the crush washer for the oil pressure sensor. Okay, here's the first one. These are brand new. All right. Hand tighten first, and then from there, we get to the torques. Okay. We're gonna get the bike on the lift and run this wire back. It's gonna be easier to work on it. So for now, just gonna leave it as is. So we're gonna connect the RPM sensor and then button up. I've snaked the male part of the RPM connector to the bottom. There you go, right there. And we're gonna clip that on. Make sure that it is all the way in, just like that. Now we're gonna take that same clip that was in there originally. You're gonna slide that in to make sure that it's all the way in. It's not gonna disconnect. So heads up, if you don't do this, it will come apart, you will have some issues. And then for you to triple check to make sure everything's done right, check the little pins right there on the side of the connector. And then you could try to pull it apart to see if it'll come out. If it does not come out, then you are golden. Now we're gonna put everything back into place, including this little hinge here that holds that RPM sensor. It's a tight working area, but definitely doable. Perfect. And then we're going to put the RPM sensor into the grooves here. Perfect. That fits. The last two clips, you're gonna make sure these are snapped in. First one, we're just gonna slide it at the bottom and then hook and pull up. First one's the in. Second one is in. So basically they're all in now. Okay, perfect. We're gonna put on those screws back and Loctite them. These are not ridiculously tight, and we'll torque everything down. So now we have our two screws right here. These are 4 millimeters. They don't require a lot, but they did have Loctite on them, so you're just gonna put a little smidge. They are connected to the engine, so you wanna make sure that they don't vibrate off. This is why we're doing a little bit of Loctite in them. One is right here. Make sure you hand thread in. You don't wanna cross thread this because it is connected to the engine casing, so take your time. And now we're gonna torque them, make sure it's seated properly. Perfect. Same goes for this bolt. Torque it. Perfect. And last but not least, we're gonna torque down the oil pressure sensor here to 13 Newton meters. A very tight working spot here, so make sure it's seated properly. And that's pretty much it, boys. Let's get a quick startup started to see how the bike sounds. All right, let's get a startup started, guys. Check everything, make sure everything looks good. Let's see how we did. I always love sharing tips when working on bikes. That's what we do here at Motovation. You guys buy the parts, we show you how to put it on and share best practices. So what you want to do when you are going into detail doing this yourself, if you're not taking it to the dealer, you're going to do some recon work. Find all your tools, all the components, pre-loosen everything that needs to, find all your torque specs before you start taking things apart, and also not stopping. That tends to kill your flow a little bit. Having all of the information ready at a fingertip, it's a win-win situation. All right.